Just can't imagine him being president. It's too complex a job.
Yeah, I'd hate to see him involved in the Near East peace discussion or SALT III agreement and come up with one of these ill-informed, shoot-from-the-hip types of comments.
When I go into the polling booth on November 4th, I'm not just going to think of the politics. I got to think of my family.
Two men are the real contenders for the presidency today. The people of California remember one of them quite well.
Ronald Reagan is not a man that I would want leading our country for any period of time.
Ronald Reagan is not a leader.
I think he would have gotten us into a war right by this time. Carter certainly hasn't.
It wasn't until President Carter came that we really had, for the first time, peace between Egypt and Israel.
I think it's a big risk to have Reagan as president. Reagan scares me. He really scares me.
I think I've got to vote for Jimmy Carter, really.
On November 4th, re-elect President Carter.
Now, I wanted you to listen to what these people said, because it never really changes, does it? I've heard this stuff said about Ted Cruz. I've heard this stuff said about Donald Trump by Republicans against both of them. I asked my buddy Craig Shirley, a Reagan biographer extraordinaire, and my buddy, see if he could find me a quote when Reagan was getting ready to run in 76 against Ford. I have a distant memory that George Will was trashing Reagan. And by God, that's exactly what he was doing. But here's what Will wrote. But Reagan is 63, and he looks it. His hair is still remarkably free of gray, but around the mouth and neck, he looks like an old man. What is it, by the way, with these surrogates who are always trashing the looks of candidates? Well, Mark, you do, but that's not even my point. My point is these guys, they're upstanding, they get awards from Bradley Foundation and all that. But listen to this. He's never demonstrated substantial national appeal. His hardcore support today consists primarily of the kamikaze conservatives who thought the 1964 Goldwater campaign was jolly fun. And there's a reason to doubt that Reagan is well suited to appeal to the electorate that just produced a Democratic landslide. You see, the Republican establishment and their surrogates always give up on the American people. They always do. They always do. Reagan had enormous appeal to the American people once he could bust through the Republican establishment. He was another outsider, and they trashed him. And the Bush family trashed him. And McConnell in 1976 was working for Ford. John Boehner was nowhere to be seen. I know, I worked in these campaigns. A lot of the people on TV now saying, people criticize me. They say I'm not conservative enough. Look at Trump. Again, people who have never demonstrated any allegiance to the conservative movement, who've never had a steady appeal to conservatives. That's right. Now, they're the ones who are going to determine who are conservatives or not. Bill Kristol, among others. George Will. But it is an amazing thing. We've come full circle now. Now the issue, since the last debate, is not whether Trump will support the Republican nominee, since he just signed a document saying he will, but whether the others will support him if he's the Republican nominee. And the truth is, whether the others will support Ted Cruz if he's the Republican nominee, because they were brutalizing him before Trump, and should he win the Republican primary, they will brutalize him more.